Hi YouTube, welcome to part 2 of the primary gear restoration video. Hopefully you enjoy this. So let's crack on. Okay, next we need to make the new bronze bushing. So we start off by mounting it in the lathe. I use a little mandrel there, and then machining the diameter down to give us the appropriate interference fit inside the primary gear. And in this application I use 2.5 to 3 thousandths. Right, we take the first cut so I can get a baseline and set the lathe the right size. .794. So we set the DRO on the machine now. Now I can machine it down to size. It should be 1.65, so let's have a quick measure. And I've got 1.6, in fact I'm 4/10 of a thou undersize, so that's excellent. Finish it off, heading for 1.634. Excellent. Right, next job, just chamfer the ends. We're done. There we go, and that's ready to press in. Okay, so we got set up in the press now. As you can see, that's the press, that's on the table. We've got the gear, the bronze bush, and a specially made tool to locate it all nice and squarely. and then we just pump the handle and push the bush into place. And the same for the other end. That's the top hat bush in. I've just pushed it in and you can see that's in there nicely. So that's all now ready to go on the lathe and be bored out. Okay, I've just set this primary gear up. Now the quick ones amongst you may have noticed that this is not the 850 gear. This is actually another one of I'm actually doing a batch of 3 at the moment, but the reason why I'm showing you this one is because some people ask me why don't I use a 4-jaw chuck, and you know, you can't, you know, they tell me they can't do it in a 3-jaw chuck and all this old, you know, a lot of old nonsense. So a lot of people don't understand the fundamentals of machining, and what I mean by that is if you put one of these in a 4-jaw chuck and hold it this way round, and when you tighten that 4-jaw chuck, you will actually distort the gear. And what I mean by that is when you try and tighten it up and budge it over, the 4-jaw chuck has got a lot more grip than the 3-jaw scroll chuck, and it'll actually crush the gear and make it slightly rectangular. So what I do is I hold it on the outside of the gear teeth as shown there, in a 3-jaw chuck. Now I've then got to get it central, and that can be difficult, and this one is an extreme example. And this particular one, I've had to put 2 7/10 shims in 2 of the jaws, and then I've had to tap it in, and I've got it within 1/1000 of an inch, which is perfectly fine for the tolerances here that we're looking at. And it's most important that in order to get this clocked in, it has to be concentric to the axis of the machine on the sill surface and at the front end here, because if it isn't, as it goes round, it will oscillate around the back point. So it's most important that you actually get this concentric at both ends of the gear. If you don't, you'll have problems with wobbling and judder and things like that, and premature bush wear. The reason for those shims is not because my chuck is particularly out, although it's not perfect. Is because the gear is manufactured poorly. The outside diameter of that gear is not concentric with the sill surface or the inside balls of the gear. So when you put these up, you can't rely on any of these surfaces to be machined true to the gear, so you have to establish your own. We've got the 850 gear nicely set up in the lathe this time. As before, it's in the 3-jaw chuck, and you'll see this time we've got no shims because this gear's been machined a bit more accurately from the factory, and everything's aligned nicely, and all I had to do was gently tap it in, and it's all aligned. A lot of people talk about on the forums having bushes reamed out and things like that. Actually, that's not the appropriate way to do it, because both bushes need to be bored out in line so that they both share the same centre line. The only way to do that in reality is using a centre lathe. Okay, first one we're going to do is bore out that new front bushing, the one that's quite large in diameter. So what we're going to do is I'm going to touch off and set the tool first, so I know where I am, and then I'm going to go in and machine that front bush. So what that's now done is roughed out the front bushing. So now I can come back and concentrate on the rear bushing. Okay, quick check of the sizes here, and I think this measures 1.487 inches. So we need to go up to the appropriate size, which I'll get off the crankshaft. One more size check so I don't go over 1.495 and a half, with the crankshaft measures 1.499 dead. So on a road engine I would be making these bushes with 5/1000 of an inch clearance, so my finished size is 1.504, and in order to get there I'm going to machine this pretty close, and then I will finish it by hand. Final cut on that rear bush. That one's done. Just check the sizing, see where we are. Oh, I'm actually a little bit small on that one, so I'll just measure it one more time, try again. I'll do a small adjustment and run that through again. Check that size. So the target size I'm aiming for here is 1.5025 inches. And that is spot on. So now we go and bore the rear bush to the same size. Sorry, the front bush. size. One more cut. And this should be the size that we're aiming for. In which case I've got 1.502. That's close enough. Next up, it's time to chamfer the inside and face off and chamfer the front. Reverse it and then put the chamfer on the outside. Lovely. Back to the correct way and then reface the front. Lovely. Now, she's ready for hand finishing. Okay, so for this next job, I'm going to switch over to a dial bore gauge, and this will allow me to get much more accurate measurements to finish the size. A little bit of abrasive paper and just polish. And just check our progress. Okay, so having finished that, you can see there's a nice crosshatch finish in there, done by hand. We put the gauge in, verify our size, and you can see when I push that in, we've got 0.05 of an inch clearance. That bush is done. Okay. So now we're going to do the front bushing. As you can see, that's there's a lot less bronze in there now than what we started with, but that's around the nominal size, so we're going to finish that the same way by hand. And the front bushing is done. Nice crosshatch finish. Now we need to clean it up and then we can wrap this video up. Okay, I think you'll agree that that looks every inch the restored primary gear, complete with its bushings and its custom made new front bushing. This particular unit is going to go for an engine build which Dorchester Mini Centre's doing, so hopefully it'll serve them well. Thanks for following along with the primary gear rebuilding video. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you want to see more, obviously like and subscribe, and thank you very much.